yeah, so every way I have to watch it, I can't. So I did not get to see, didn't get to see Edge versus Sheamus, which Vinkin says was a great for a TV match. And I heard really good stuff. I haven't had a chance to go back and watch. I heard that they had a really good package, kind of like chronicling his career, that they showed like earlier in the show. I'm assuming that's probably up on WWE's YouTube. And then I saw a clip of him talking after the show went off the air, and I know that there's a full like 4-minute clip, but I saw like the little 30-second clip where he was saying that he told the fans, he's like, I don't know if this is my last time wrestling in front of you. I have to talk to my family, because Beth and the kids were in the crowd. I heard that like Beth was crying, the kids were crying, like apparently everybody was crying and stuff. And so it seems like it was a really nice moment, if that is the end of his WWE career, that they sent him off nice. Somebody was telling me, they're like, I'm just glad I didn't bury him on the way out, and they gave him.
That is nice.
So as far as we know, I mean, there's always the chance that Edge has worked something out last minute and will be back in WWE. But there are obviously the rumors that he is headed to AEW. One of the reasons there is that rumor is because he was actually in talks to join AEW before he went back to WWE. Because apparently from the fight, because I knew before that he had been talking to them and then ended up, but from the Fightful, the Select that came out, I think it was yesterday, or maybe it was, I think it was yesterday. Edge had been talking with AEW, and they didn't know yet if he was going to be cleared or not, but they were still talking to him about joining in some sort of capacity. And it says that Edge contacted Vince McMahon and was like, hey, this is what's happening. And Vince was like, go see our doctors. He did. He got cleared. And they signed him. So that's really interesting. So he does obviously have the relationship. There's some other reasons. I'll get into where I think he's going, but what are your thoughts on it, Mel? What do you think is happening here?
I haven't decided, but I just don't see him in AEW. I don't see him going that route. I think that, really? I mean, or maybe because Christian's there, and there's a chance that them and the Hardys could have like here's the picture there for
in here, because I'll go with what I think is going to happen, but
it's I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Right. Yeah, I mean it is. But if he doesn't go to AEW, do you think he's done wrestling altogether?
I think that either he goes back to WWE or he's just done. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was just done. He's made a ton of money. He's a smart dude. He's got I'm kind of with Jim Valley on this almost. Like from yesterday, I was watching listening to his stream, and I was like, yeah, he's got pretty wife. He's got his pretty wife and his beautiful family and his wonderful. And I mean, if she's happy there, and I mean, why? I mean, he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to go. I mean, the only thing that always is the thing that's like a big factor is the fact that like AEW has a set schedule.
The reason I think he's going to AEW, I'm pretty much convinced at this point he's going. Okay.
All right.
I think he's going because he wants to finish up with Christian. I think they got that moment in the Royal Rumble a couple of years ago, and that was it. I don't think he wants to end on that. I do think that he will have at least one final match, and it will be against Christian. But I do think that they will have it, even if it's a short-lived tag team run where it's just a few months. I do think that they'll do one last match with the Hardys, because that was the epitome of their careers as far as they put wrestling on the map in the 90s, when they didn't really care about tag team wrestling. They defied everything. Of course, there was Team 3D, but it was those four men who put tag team wrestling on the map in the 90s, and a lot of things that came after them are because of them. And I think that they're going to wrestle the Young Bucks, because that's a match that's never happened before, and I think that they are going to want I think they're going to want to have that match, because that match would have never been possible 5 years ago, but now it's something that's possible. And I think that doesn't necessarily, I could see Edge retiring in AEW, but I would also see him doing this run going back to WWE, retiring officially there. I think regardless of what he does, he'll be in the Hall of Fame, even if Vince gets a little mad at him for going to wrestle in AEW for a little bit. I think he'll eventually be in the Hall of Fame one way or another. But I think he will, because I think there's a lot of criticism on his last few years in WWE and the way he was booked and the way he was handled. And he can take a look at Sting and be like, you know what? Look at what they're doing for Sting. Sting had a really terrible run in WWE. It was awful. It was a waste of time. And now he's in AEW and he's getting to do these things. Christian is in a prominent spot. I could just see that that's what I think, that if he goes, I don't expect him to sign maybe more than a year. He could potentially do 2 years if he wanted to. But I think he wants to get those I think he wants to do the match with Christian, and I see the Hardy Boys match happening and probably the Young Bucks. Maybe they do a couple of other tag teams that I think, even they could even do with Aussie Open. So I think
Jeez, you're listing these matches off, and now I'm like, I could watch that.
And I kind of think if they're going, because I was like, well, there's two, obviously the big deal would have him come to Wembley. Like, you can't get bigger than that. Like, Wembley needs something huge. You could debut him there. If they
I was going to ask you, would he be okay to be at Wembley? That's next weekend.
No, his contract expired, so he has no, as far as I understand, because of the expired, it just expired, and he didn't re-sign. There's no non-compete clause because they released him.
Like a no-brainer to have him.
So from my understanding, I could be wrong, but from what I understand, because the contract expired, there's no 30-day non-compete. There's none of that. So he could potentially show up at Wembley next week.
Christian is going to be involved in that card,
or they could potentially, obviously, the following week is the match at All Out with between Luchasaurus and Darby for the TNT Championship. We all know that Christian thinks that's his title. He defended it last night, which I didn't realize until today. I wasn't thinking about it. I was trying to find a picture of Edge for us to use, and a couple people made the comparison of both Edge and Christian main evented a day apart. They had Edge main evented Friday, Christian main evented last night. Who knows if that was on purpose? Jim Ross did mention that he signed both Edge and Christian. He mentioned it in commentary last night that he signed both of them to the WWE. He could have just been playing up the internet rumors, of course. But I could definitely. It
might be smarter to go with All Out just because All In is full now and All Out is not.
Full. He could just show up and not do anything. Like, he could just show up and they have
seriously.
him.
But if they do the thing that they do where basically everyone knows that that's going to happen, that could sell a lot of pay-per-views.
Well, and but they could also sell them. They're what, 400 tickets away from selling how many ever tickets, if there's the possibility. That's what I told Nikki last night. I was like, if I were in London and I was a wrestling fan, had not bought my ticket to All In yet, and I know that there's a possibility that Edge could show up, that would probably make me buy a ticket. So they could potentially, and so they could sell tickets based off the idea that he could be there, and then maybe he doesn't come until All Out. It's not like it's a bait and switch or anything. They're not advertising him.
No.
Or
they haven't really talked about it.
Or there's also, I don't think that they're going back to Daily's Place anytime soon, but I did dream a few months ago that Edge and Christian reunited in AEW. It was at Daily's Place.
Well, there you go. So what is that? No, Grand Slam is in Long Island.
Yeah, that's it. So I don't know. They were just at Daily's Place like 3 weeks ago, so I don't know when they're going back. But so I think it could happen. I think that it's certainly possible that they could do this if he wanted to, of course. I mean, I'm sure he's got to talk to his family and got to see where he's out health-wise and things like that. And, and so I could see it happening. I think it's more likely to happen than not. That's what I'm going with. That's my well, I was like, I don't know if it's really a hot take, because I think a lot of people are guessing the same thing, because I think it's the same way as you. Is either he is going to AEW to finish up with Christian, he's going back to WWE, or he's just done. So.
Well, those obviously those are the three choices. Yeah. I just feel like he would be, if he's not going to go to AEW, he will either get WWE could money talks, like people.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone has a price.
Right.
Like
Money does talk, but also, I mean, at this point in his career, he has all the, he has money. He's like you said, so he could be like, you know what, I want to finish up on my terms. I want to have this match with Christian. I want to have one last match with the Hardy Boys. I want to wrestle the Young Bucks because that was
there's
not
more
possible.
possibilities for AEW.
Yeah,
and the schedule is way more set, and it's flexible for him because he can only work this day or only work that day, or I mean, he could be on Wednesdays, he could be on Saturdays, whatever.